In this video, I'm going to show you the exact steps on how to apply the foam back suede headliner material to the headliner board. So I'll be covering the steps on how to recover a sagging roof lining and also apply that suede material. So we're going to start by putting on some overalls. We're going to also grab the respirator as well, and we're going to put on some chemical gloves ready to start sanding down this headliner board and get rid of that old foam. So if your headliner board looks anything like this one that we're working on today, where the old foam has gone all orange and crumbly, ready to be brushed off quite easily, we would then proceed to use just the orbital drill with a little nylon brush attachment just to speed up the process. But just remember that not all headliner boards can withstand that amount of aggressive rubbing, so make sure you do test it out on a small section first. Otherwise you'll just have to use some little hand brushes instead and just have a more of a gentle approach. But if you're looking to just do a color change to black suede and your headliner is not designed to sag or ready to sag, usually that's seen on, say, the felt or carpet style headliners, because they're normally glued permanently to the board and pretty much they're very difficult to remove the old factory material. On those type of style of headliner boards, I usually just suggest to spray a lot of glue over the top of the existing material and then glue basically that new material straight over the top. But you got to kind of use a bit more glue than what's needed on this video that we described. With probably about double the amount of glue just to let it sink into that first layer. But with this one's where we just remove the old foam backing, brush it all down. We've used the orbital brush, we've used a couple of hand brushes to get it to a nice clean surface so there's no little fine dust sitting on top that's going to make the glue have problems with adhering to the board. With this orbital sander, I suggest to test it out on small sections of your board first, because not all headliner boards can withstand sanding aggressively on the board. It's just more or less, we're working on a Holden VE ute, and sometimes they have some raised sections on the board from factory where maybe it's just a molding that they've done with the headliner board, so we just buzz them down a bit just to create that nice smooth surface. We're going to use some cloth tape now just to put on some little hairline fractures of the board just to hold it together, and then when we apply brand new material, we're just going to overlap the material anyway, and it's going to reinforce and strengthen those areas. So this is the new suede foam back material that we're working with. We've rolled it out, cut it to shape. We have just blown all of the little fibers and dust on top of the material, ready to work with a bit of a clean surface. We grabbed a cylinder to fold the material down halfway to get that nice overlapping fold line. So if you didn't have that cylinder, sometimes you can crease your material when you do fold it. The creases do come out, but it's better off just to prevent it. We spray glue first in all the high stress areas, anywhere where the material kind of has to make a bend or curve or sink into maybe a deep recess. Then we sprayed glue around the borders of the headliner where we're working, just to create a nice little workspace to not get too much overspray of glue. And then we spray glue in up and down, left to right, overlapping about 50% each time to make sure we get good coverage on the headliner. Now we're also going to spray glue on the back of the material as well. So make sure you don't puddle the material, puddle the glue on any of this material, because it can sink through if you've done too much. You just do light coats, same thing as well, left to right, overlapping about 50% each time. And with the glue that we're using today, it's pretty much the dry time stays open for a long time, so we've got a lot to work with. But some headliner glues that you guys might be using, you might have to bond it straight away, or you might have to even wait longer. So we spray the back of the material now on the other side, and we kind of pretty much do left and right sides all at once, because the dry time stays open quite long, that we can work and do this whole job all at once. But if you're working on maybe a difficult job, say a Volkswagen where it's got that large front section of the sunglasses console, maybe you might just want to work on the first half first and do the hardest part first. So now we're ready to bond the fabric to the board. What I like to do is just use an off-cut piece of roof lining material and just use that as like a little application pad just to push down on the material. And what that does, it helps prevent your fingertips from denting the fabric or the foam cells behind the fabric itself, and just makes for a cleaner application. When you're applying this material, you just want to try to make sure you're feeding it into all the deep recesses and the curves. You don't want to apply too much tension. So you can see here there's a lot of spring and bounce to the material because it's basically bridged across, and we have to unstick one side to feed the material down to the curve and just apply a lot of slack there. That way there's no tension to the material and it won't come unstuck later on down the track. This is the perfect time to show you an example of some other foam back suede fabrics you can buy. This one here hasn't got the stitching on the back of the foam, so what happens there, depending on the glue you use and the dry time, if you have to pull the material back up to reposition it on the board, most likely you would lose your foam backing because there's no stitching on the back to protect it, and it would just, like, if you were to reapply that back to the board, you'll just get lumps and bumps everywhere. So our foam backing on the headlining material that we sell, the suede foam backing, and all our products have a stitching on the back just to protect the foam. It makes for much easier application, much more convenient product to use. So just keep that in mind, that can be the difference between applying our material and someone else's. So what we're doing here is we're going to overlap the material to the back of the board. We recommend to do this when possible because from the factory they just cut it straight to the edge, but the job that we were working on today, we know there's a tolerance there you can get away with by overlapping the material to the back of the board. It's just going to make a nice cleaner finish, and it's going to really help the material last longer, I believe. So from here we're just going to clean down this headliner board now, bring it to a nice finish. We're just using carpet and foaming upholstery cleaner with a bit of orange agent. We're going to dilute the two together, but we'll just use the air blower just to remove any of the fine dust that's sitting on top of the material. We will have links to all the products that we recommend in our video description on YouTube and also in the comment section pinned to this video. But those two cleaning products you can get from Supercheap Auto. That is a Bowden's own orange agent, and then we're just diluting it with a bit of Supercheap Auto carpet and foaming upholstery cleaner. So we just like these products. We've been using them for quite some time now. They don't seem to leave any stains behind. That's why we do like them. And just brush gently if you're using suede foam back material. And that's the finished product. You can see that it's really good quality. You can change the suede pattern there. Up close, it looks really good. And yeah, you can just brush it, change the direction of the suede flow pattern. Some of the glue products that we do recommend to do these jobs with are these four. So we use T65 today, but there's some other methods and glues you can use as well. So T65 is what we use, but we didn't use it out of a can. We used it out of a 20-litre canister, but T65 500ml cans we do sell on our eBay page. We run ours through a massive 20-litre canister fed through that gun that you've seen today, but these cans work quite fine. We've done some videos showing you how many cans you would need as well. So this is the 20-litre canister, and basically it's just like a massive aerosol can, so there's no sound, very low odor, great product to use. And we also do use CanTac by Glue Guru, the HSE tack that comes out of the canister as well. So it has the same delivery system as the T65. So those two products are great to use, and we haven't had any issues with them. We think the CanTac has a faster dry time, so maybe the T65 might be slightly easier to work with, and the CanTac seems to stick and bond much faster, but they perform really well. So then also there's 3M Hi-Tac 76 is another good product to use. And the Permatex brand automotive headliner adhesive is a great product to use as well. We keep these on the shelf because sometimes we like to use these products on high stress areas around sunglasses consoles, on oily boards like the seen on the Volkswagen models and the Audi models, because so like say in the section where there's like a raised section just here, but on maybe a high-rise sunglasses console, we like to just add a tiny bit of Permatex and 3M with our T65 product that we use, because it just makes for much better adherence to the board for some reason on those headliner boards that are a bit oily. These ones here are all dry, the boards are dry, so basically these are Ford Falcons and Holden Commodores. You can brush off the old foam and apply any glue and it's all fine, but for some reason on those European type of makes, with the Volkswagens and the Audis, you just got this oily substance to the board, and sometimes T65 needs a bit of help around the edges, and we just add a bit of Permatex because that responds better, which is a bit weird, but on those boards. But yeah, that's just my suggestion, that sometimes you got to mix a couple of the two glues together to get a good outcome. And these are the 9 headlining fabrics that we keep on the shelf, also the same ones that we have on our eBay page that you can purchase as well. We're going to be adding the suede foam back to the list as well once we get it in stock. Number 1, ebony velour, so it's got that softer type of finish. We've got 3 velours to choose from, and so ebony velour didn't really come out on any car from factory, but it's always a great choice as well to pick if you wanted to go for a nice black finish. Number 2, which is that dark grey charcoal velour. Number 3 is a light grey velour. Sometimes light grey can look a bit beige inside the car as well, so just keep that in mind, that depending on what light hits it is what can change the reflection on the material. So that's 3 velour materials we got. Now the last 6 are flat knit, circular knit material. This is number 4, ebony flat knit. This is our darkest flat knit material, because you've got number 5, anthracite, which is more of a shadow grey charcoal black that came out from factory on all black options on the cars. So Holden VEs would go for the number 5 anthracite, but if you wanted to go that one stage darker, you could go for that number 4. Number 6 is the light oyster flat knit, usually seen on most of the Ford Falcon FGs and some of the Ford Territory models, some of the Jaguars we might use it on as well. Number 7, cappuccino light grey. So once again, light grey can look slightly beige inside the car, and it can complement your interior quite well depending on what light hits it. The number 7 material we use quite heavily because it's used on a lot of cars that have the light grey to beige type of finish. And then we've also got the number 8 fawn material that's used on a few cars as well. Not really heavily used, it's just on the shelf, just same as the number 9 mid grey. We don't use it too often, but it does come through here and there, so it's worth having on the shelf, and that's more of that mid grey type of finish. The suede will be joining the list as well, the black suede that we used today. And up against maybe the original factory black, you can see that it would actually complement, say if you had black pillars inside your car, say on most of the cars that came out that black anthracite, you can see that it's going to match up quite well to the original black in your car. So but up against maybe like the other eBay brands of suede, you can see that there was a bit of a contrast between the two. So the stuff that we like to use is always high grade, really convenient products to use, and it really easily can be applied to most jobs. So we always like to check all those boxes, and that's the type of material that we like to stock. This stuff here has no stitching on the back, so we've got our material, the suede, and then you've got this one here. So ours is on the right, and it's got the stitching on the back protecting the foam layer, and this one on the left is basically the other stuff that you can buy. We've used it before where customers have supplied their own suede, but like I said before earlier in this video, you sometimes only get one shot at laying that type of material, where our material you can stick it down and lift it back up. Sometimes, depending on your dry time and your glue you're using with any of these materials, that you could be using a different glue to what we suggest, which might make it so you can't even lift it up at all. But you can also feel the quality difference as well. That one there feels a bit more canvassy, where this material that we do stock, it feels much better to use. And we wanted some suede material to start using on most of the Starlight headliners that we're going to start doing as well, because when you poke the fibre optics from the Starlight engines through the material, you want to be able to not pull the stitching, so we have to switch over to suede foam backed headlining materials to withstand a bit of those fibre optics coming through and not pulling and leaving imperfections through the material. So now I'll just show you how this suede material went when we applied fibre optics from the Starlight headliner kits. So this is just an off-cut piece of suede that we were using today, and what we've done, we just went ahead and just poked a bunch of fibre optics through just quickly to see if they do give off too much of an imperfection. There's normally about 3 different thicknesses you can buy in these fibre optics. You got the thick one, and then you got probably about a bit of a medium size, and then you got the thin one. We like to use 100% the thin ones because it leaves less imperfection behind when you do poke it through, because you poke them through with a bit of an upholstery skewer, maybe a bit thinner than that. And then you've also got these are the fiber optics. These are just samples, just offcuts that we've got, and you can see that there's different thicknesses. So if you're buying the kit that has like 3 different thicknesses in the actual kit, the very thick fiber optics are going to show more of an imperfection than the thinner ones. So that's why we like to just buy the ones which just have the thin versions. So this is just an old kit that we had on the shelf, and that's got about 3 different styles or thickness of fiber optics. But we just thought we'll just try it out just to see how they look and see what it looks like when it comes through the suede material. And it all depends on how you cut it as well. So you can cut these fiber optics with some side cutters, or this is just a toenail, fingernail clippers. Depending on the depth you go is depending on how much you will see the fiber optic. But if you go too deep, you're actually not going to see the bright star when it does shine through. So it's a bit of a tolerance thing. You got to try that out. Power on your unit. We've done a video about how to apply Starlight headliner kits, so make sure you do watch that to get a bit of insight on how to apply them and what depth to cut the fiber optics. But you can also just try that out with your with your tools that you're using. This is a pair of pliers that we're just using, a pair of side cutters, and yeah, we do prefer the toenail fingernail clippers. They're much easier to get a bit more of a softer finish when you do cut the fiber optics. It seems to be not as sharp. So we like to just go not too shallow, otherwise you won't see it, and but just enough so you kind of don't feel the fiber optic coming through. Depending on what shadows hit the material, you won't be able to see the fiber optics anyway on this suede. So, but the thicker one you do see. So that's normally seen on shooting stars, the thicker fiber optics anyway. But with our suede headlining material, you can see up against, this is original anthracite black sun visor from a Holden VE, or even the Holden Commodore VYs to VZs. You can see that it's going to match up quite nicely to our black suede, and especially the black plastics as well. This is a B pillar, and you can see that the actual materials and the plastics are going to match up really nicely to this suede. So we just wanted to double check on that as well. Also, this is in the garage, so when there is shadows hitting the material, you're going to see it blend in much better. So you got like the brightness, and then you got the shadows hitting it. With the shadows hitting it, you can see the colors kind of blend much better. But yeah, I reckon all is well with this material, and hopefully you found this video helpful. And if you did, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next video. Catch ya.